Hello, my name is Tim Lahili, and in this video I'm going to be talking about batches. Specifically, I'm going to talk about batch administration and batch review. But first, let's talk about what batches are. Batches are simply groups of documents assigned to reviewers. The basic concept is you have a large case, you want to divide it up among a large number of reviewers, and you want to manage that process, and hence you create batches. I also have a video just on batch review in the event that you want your reviewers to be able to get a sense for how to interact with batches. But in this video, we're going to cover both batch administration and batch review. Batch administration can be done from either the desktop or from the review interface. We're going to spend our whole time in the review interface because batch review can only be done in the review interface. So let's hop into the product and take a look. All right, so again, I said batch administration can be done from the desktop or review, but we're going to go into review in this case. Click through this. Now, as an admin, I have access to both batch admin and batch review, but if I were not an admin, batch admin would not be here. So let's click on batch admin because that's what we're interested in to begin with. This interface gives you the ability to create batches and check on the progress of batches and administer them. To do that, you want to pick a case. Batches are done by case. So let's go to our demo case. That's got all of our relevant data in it. You can see right away all the batches that have been created in this case. I've created a ton of them because I've been programming and testing them. So I've created and deleted them. If we wanted to create more, we would do that from over here, the create review set. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do the silly thing of creating batches across the entire case. The reason that's silly is because they will inherently be redundant with batches that are already here. But just for the sake of this exercise, let's do that. So we've picked the case we're doing, demo case. Now, the reason there's a case select here is because you can actually administer multiple cases. If you had 4 or 5 cases that represented one legal matter, or perhaps you just wanted to look at all your cases, all the batches across a whole bunch of cases, you can select multiple here, click load, it will load across all of them. If you do that, then you have to select the specific case you want to create new batches in. In this case, I only looked at one case, and so it's smart enough to know I'm going to want to create batches in that case. When I create a batch, I do it primarily by label. Actually, let me be fair. There are 3 ways I can do it. I can batch all objects in the case. I can batch all unassigned objects, or I can batch by label. Batching by label, what that would basically do, it would go through all the documents in that label and divide them up into batches based on whatever criteria I specify. All objects as it operates as its sound and assigns out all objects. And unallocated objects, this is a useful feature in that, let's say you created a bunch of batches and then you added more evidence to the case. And now you want to create batches out of that second set of evidence. The easiest way to do that is to click on here, all unassigned objects. And then that will go through and find all unassigned objects and batch them up. But for us, I'm going to go ahead and do all batches. Now you have 2 other choices you can really make here. You can assign by reviewers, meaning I want these batches created and assigned out to different reviewers. If I do that, it will assign them evenly among the different reviewers. Or I can say, no, I'm not interested in doing it by reviewer. I'm interested in doing it by size. So I like each batch to be 2,000 records large. Note that if you do select reviewers, it will gray out the size because it's going to divide them evenly among these reviewers. But if you don't want to do that, as we don't want to in this case, let's go ahead and pick a size and we'll pick 2,000. Now we have to give it a set name, and we're going to call it video demo, and we give it a prefix. We'll call it video. Now, you have to make sure the set name is unique. I believe it's not allowed to be the same name as a label you have. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty darn positive it has to be unique and it can't overlap with a label. And the prefix needs to be unique. Otherwise, you're going to end up with messages across all your batches. Once you've done that, you can assign a due date for these batches if you want. You can just sort of pick any date. Doesn't matter. Now, the most important thing about the batches is that you pick a status column. If you decide to, hey, I want to make batches, I want to follow the video Tim's made, and you come in here to a new case, you're going to see that this column is empty. And because, or this select is empty, and because it's empty, you can't create batches. It's just going to error out every single time. The reason for that is in order to track the status of batches, we need a column to look at. So we require you to enter, to provide us with a custom column that we're going to check for the batch status. So in this case, I've got a checkbox. It could be a number, it could be a text field. And what you're basically telling your reviewers is, no matter what, for you to get credit for reviewing a record, you must populate this column. Again, here it's called the check one, but it could be a number column, it could be a radio button, it could be a date, a text, it could be anything. And you're telling them, listen, you bare minimum must fill in that number or that value. For this to be really effective, you're going to want to choose either a checkbox or a radio button as the field you're tracking, because then you will get standardized tracking. If you choose a number or a text or a date field, I'm going to show you how that really renders this functionality, this case coding summary, basically useless. But if you choose a checkbox or a radio button, you're going to get really powerful usage out of this case coding summary. Then you can choose to keep families together, keep threads together, keep similar together. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to go ahead and click create. And we're going to sit here and wait, and it's going to send a couple messages up that it's continuing to create batches, but just a sort of a waiting message. I think it's once every like 30 seconds until it's done. And when it's done, this chart, this grid will update. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to skip ahead till it updates. Okay, it updated. You can see here, these are the records from the batches we created. They're all sort of, they're all 2,000 records large. I think there are like 46,000 records in this case, so you're going to see a whole lot of batches that we created. And they're numbered. A little bit of annoyance here. It doesn't sort of sort these exactly as you'd expect. But in any event, they're all here. Now, let's say I want to assign this batch out. Now, I gave it a due date, but we didn't assign it to reviewers. We did it by size. So now we want to edit this, and we want to assign it out to reviewer 2, and we could go ahead and change the due date if we wanted to. We're going to go ahead and update this one. Let's update it. And now let's go find that again. There we go. It's assigned out to reviewer 2. It's not started. Progress is 0%. That's that. We could also delete one if we wanted to. Let's delete this. We're going to video_24. We're going to delete it. Sure you want to delete it? Yes. Just that simple. Okay, so that's how we assign batches out. Now let's look at how we sort of make sense of what is going on in terms of the progress against our batches. Obviously, there are these metrics here that you can look through and get a good sense. But there's also this case coding summary table, which again is only really powerful if you've chosen checkboxes or radio buttons here. What this thing does is, let's talk about this number review set. And again, don't choose numbers for your tracking column, but I did it intelligently here, so it's going to work out for explanation purposes. What I did is I created a review set based on a number column. And then I went through and I coded some documents with the number 5, and I coded a document with 787. So quickly, just by checking this chart, I can say that within the number review set, 46,334 documents have no coding against them. They have not been coded. 8 documents have been coded with the number 5, and 787 have been coded, excuse me, 1 document has been coded with the number 787. And so quickly you should get a sense for how powerful it can be if you assign this to a checkbox and your reviewers get going. Let's say your checkbox says important, unimportant, medium importance. You're going to quickly not only get a sense of how many documents have been coded, but you will see how they, some sense of the significance of those documents, whether they're important, unimportant, or medium importance. And you can also come through and quickly view that data. So if I want to see these 8 records that are coded with the value 5, I can click on View Data. And it's going to take me straight into this review set and just show me these 8 documents. And then if I go back, it's going to take me straight back to the dashboard or to the review set admin dashboard. So I think if you make some smart choices when creating review sets, this thing becomes really, really powerful in terms of tracking status. This will show you how many documents have been reviewed. I actually think there's a tiny sliver here because I think maybe 1 document has been reviewed, but these are sort of, the rest are largely unreviewed. And this shows how many documents have been assigned or not assigned. So this many documents are unassigned, this many documents are assigned to the admin, and this many documents are assigned to the reviewer too, which makes sense, we just assigned them. And this shows you the batches by status. So that's pretty much it for the admin section. I'm going to hop out now. Let's hop out now and go into the review set and see what this all looks like for a reviewer. Again, there is just a video for review for those people who just want that information. But let's go into batch review here. Now this is going to take note of who I am, and it's going to go through and gather all the batches that are either unassigned or assigned to me. So as the admin, you saw that I had assigned almost everything to me. So largely I get just a bunch of stuff here. But if you were a reviewer that's had 2 or 3 batches, you'd find all 2 or 3 batches right here. And you'd be able to interact with them and view them and do whatever it is you need to do. So let's go over how this section works. First of all, if you have several cases assigned to you, you can go choose the various cases assigned to you for which there are batches. The admin has every case assigned to them, but there are only 2 that have batches, so only 2 show up here. And then if you select a case, which I've already got the demo case selected, it will show you the batches that are available that have been assigned to you. If you want to look at batch status, again, complete, incomplete, in progress, not started, you can also see that in chart form. I find it a little bit easier to view in chart form. And if you want to look at the ones that are in progress, you can see that these are in progress. 9 documents here coded, 7 here, 14 here. And if I wanted to open any one of these, I could just click on it and it would take me into the case. I could also, by the way, click on this view data, and it would also take me into the case. Let's talk really quickly about estimated completion time. You could see this is a bizarre time, right? This is like the date a bazillion years in the future. The math here is pretty darn simple. If this was assigned to me, let's say 3 months ago, and I have only coded, as the case is, 7 documents, and there are 15,000 documents to code, it's going to say I did 7 in 3 months, and therefore it's going to take me 5,000 years to finish this case, and the estimated completion time is this date. That is married against the required completion time if a batch has been given a due date. And if the estimated completion time is greater than the required completion time, you'll get a little warning here that says it looks like you're going to overrun your due date. Again, just simple math, nothing particularly fancy, but I think it gives a reviewer a good sense for whether their current rate of progress is going to be sufficient to make their deadline. It's also worth noting, as you can see in this example, it can generate some stupid results, at least in the beginning of the coding period. If you coding 3 or 4 weeks, or 3 or 4 days into a batch, you're going to start to get really very good estimations. But right off the bat, can generate some pretty odd results. Anyway, let's scroll down. Here is batch assignment. It'll show all batches that you can see. This is all batches assigned to you and unassigned. So if a batch is completely unassigned to anyone, it will show up here. And you can check it out. If you want to click on this, just click it, check it out, checking out batch. And now it's assigned to me. You see, I don't know if you saw there was a flicker up here because it was updating this grid because now this batch is in my grid information. If I'm done with it and I want to check it in, I can go ahead and just click on it again and it will check it back in, and now it's available for checkout. All new batches are here. There are no new batches. All completed batches, again, nothing there. Not started batches and unassigned batches. So that's pretty all self-explanatory. In addition, it lays out the batches on a calendar for you. It's worth noting that it can only show 2 batches just because you can see the form factor here is pretty small. It can only show 2 batches per day. So if you have a situation in which a reviewer's got like 50 batches, or actually, to be honest, even 3 batches that overlap in a given day, it's only going to show 2 of them. But hopefully, in a normal workflow, 2 concurrent batches is probably the most a reviewer should have anyway. And then not pick up another one until they're finished with one of them. So you should have a useful calendar here. In any event, that is batch review. If you wanted to go into a batch, same as we did before, you can just click on View Data. I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring me into the data associated with that batch, and you'll see that's 1465, which is exactly the documents in that batch. And we can go back here, and that's it. That's it for review. That's how review works. Hopefully this is a helpful video and gets you started. Thank you very much for your time.